The grand hall of the space station floated quietly above a golden star. From a distance, the station looked like a crown made of metal, its towers spreading outward like the points of a shining jewel. Hundreds of small ships circled it, coming and going from every direction. Merchants, diplomats, explorers, and soldiers all passed through, because this place was considered neutral ground. No empire claimed it, no army guarded it, and no warship fired near it. The station was known simply as Concordia, the meeting place of the great and proud. Inside, the grand hall stretched like a cathedral of steel. The walls curved upward in graceful arcs, covered with banners and lights. Long tables were arranged in circles so no one sat higher than the other. It was meant to show equality, though pride often refused to bend to such symbols. On this day, the hall had only a few visitors, but they were no ordinary guests. 5 alien captains had come, each representing a power that shaped the stars. They did not come as friends nor as enemies, but as rivals who wanted to show their greatness. The first arrival, the first to enter, was Captain Zerath of the reptilian war clans. His scaled armor reflected the lights above, green and gold shimmering with every step. His eyes were sharp, narrow, and full of hunger, as though everything he looked at was prey. He walked with his tail swaying behind him, claws tapping lightly against the floor. Zerath was proud of his people's ships. The war clans had built vessels that looked like armored beasts covered in plates and spikes. Their cannons spat fire hotter than stars, and their engines burned like volcanoes. To him, no other fleet could match their ferocity. When he took his seat, he leaned back with a growl of satisfaction. He was the first, and to him, that already proved strength. The second arrival soon, the air shimmered as the second guest entered. Captain Valari of the Winged Empire spread her metallic wings before folding them behind her back. Her feathers were not true feathers, but shining plates that caught the light and glowed faintly. Her people had once lived in skies of endless storms, and from that world they had risen to dominate the stars. Valari's ships were things of beauty. Shaped like great birds, they carried solar sails that unfolded in glowing patterns. They could fly silently, drawing energy from suns, and their weapons could pierce through the thickest shields with beams of pure heat. To her, war was not only strength but also art. She sat across from Zerath and gave him a polite nod. The reptilian only hissed softly in reply. The third arrival. The doors rumbled as the third guest entered. Captain Torkan of the iron-skinned miners marched with heavy steps that echoed like hammers striking an anvil. His body was thick and strong, his skin dark and rough like metal forged in the heart of a furnace. His people had been miners before they were soldiers, digging deep into planets, carving worlds apart for resources. Over centuries, their machines of labor had become machines of war. Torkan's flagship was the Hammer of Stars, a colossal vessel built from the bones of an asteroid. It was not beautiful, but it was unbreakable. Its weapons were drills, cannons, and crushing arms that could tear apart other ships piece by piece. To him, war was work, and victory was simply the result of effort and strength. When he sat, the table shook slightly under his weight. Zerath narrowed his eyes at him but said nothing. Valari only smiled faintly as if amused. The fourth arrival. The air grew cold as the fourth figure arrived. Captain Xeris of the hive-born swarm moved with many limbs, his body long and thin, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. His voice was soft but carried a strange echo as though more than one throat spoke at once. His people did not build ships in the way others did. They grew them. Living vessels, half organic and half machine, born from great queens that floated in the void. The broodmother was Xeris's pride. It carried millions of drones, each small but deadly, able to tear apart an enemy with numbers alone. Where one drone fell, 10 more rose. To the swarm, patience and sacrifice were natural. They did not fear loss, for the hive was endless. When Xeris sat, the air seemed to grow uneasy. Zerath gave him a scornful look. Valari kept her distance, and Torkan crossed his arms as if ready to crush anything that crawled too close. The fifth arrival. Last came Captain Lunari of the Crystal Fleet. His body was tall and slender, made of translucent skin that shimmered with inner light. His people were ancient and wise, speaking slowly as though every word carried weight. Their ships were works of brilliance, carved from crystal that could bend light and sound. They were both beautiful and terrible, The Prism Lord, Lunari's flagship, could split beams of light into destructive storms, and its shields bent incoming fire into harmless rays. To his people, war was not a thing of anger, but a thing of balance. Yet when pushed, their fleets could blind and burn entire systems. Lunari entered the hall without sound, sitting with calm dignity. He looked at the others and gave a small smile. Unlike the rest, he did not need to boast openly. His kind believed their presence alone was proof enough. The boasting begins. Now the five sat together, the circle complete. Silence hung for a moment, heavy with pride. Then, as expected, words of boasting began. Zerath leaned forward, his claws tapping the table. Our ships are living beasts of war. One strike from my dreadnought's plasma cannons and an enemy fleet becomes ash. Your ships may shine, but they cannot endure the fire of the war clans. Valari laughed lightly, her metallic wings shifting. Strength without grace is nothing. The sun-piercer of my people flies faster than thought itself. It drinks from stars and turns their light into weapons of pure precision. Where your cannons roar wildly, mine strike clean and true. Torkin snorted, his heavy arms folded. Pretty lights and flames are nothing. My hammer crushes what it touches. Your sails tear, your crystals shatter, your claws break. But steel, forged deep and beaten strong, does not fail. My ship is not for show. It is for ending battles. Xerxes' many eyes flickered. His voice slithered through the air. You all speak of single blows. But war is not one strike, it is endless hunger. The broodmother does not fire one cannon, it releases thousands of children. One swarm dies and 10 more rise. Can you kill what never ends? Lunari finally spoke, his voice calm like flowing water. Power is not measured by how loud it sounds, but by how it lasts. The Prism Lord does not waste. Light itself bends to our will. Where others burn fuel and break worlds, we simply turn energy against itself. That is true mastery. The hall filled with their voices, each one louder than the last. Pride battled pride, and none wished to yield. They spoke not to learn, but to prove. To them, boasting was as much a contest as war itself. A shadow of Earth, for hours they spoke, comparing their fleets, their victories, their weapons. Yet through it all, none of them mentioned humanity. Earth was young among the stars, a race barely known, still learning. To these captains, humans were little more than children wandering into a battlefield. But outside the hall, in the quiet shadows of the station, a single human envoy listened. He said nothing, waiting, patient. His time had not yet come. The boasting of the 5 alien captains filled the grand hall of Concordia Station, like thunder echoing through a canyon. Their words clashed and tangled in the air, sharp as blades, heavy as stone. Each one was certain their fleet stood above all others. They spoke not to share, but to outshine. The hall's lights gleamed against banners of countless worlds, but for all the decoration, it felt more like an arena than a council chamber. The circle table that was supposed to symbolize equality had turned into a battlefield of pride. Captain Zerath of the war clans leaned forward, his fangs flashing as he hissed about plasma storms. Captain Valari of the Winged Empire tilted her metallic wings proudly, describing battles where her ships moved faster than lightning. Captain Torkan of the iron-skinned miners pounded his fist on the table as he compared his hammer to mountains that crushed anything below them. Captain Xerxes of the hive-born swarm let his many voices hiss together as he painted images of endless drones consuming whole fleets. Captain Lunari of the Crystal Fleet simply sat in silence after describing how light itself bent to his will, letting the weight of his calm words carry their own power. And yet, through all this noise, the hall's great doors opened once more. The human envoy single man stepped inside. He was not tall compared to the reptilian Zerath, nor radiant compared to Valari, nor heavy like Torkan, nor strange like Xerxes, nor shimmering like Lunari. He wore a simple navy blue uniform, the emblem of Earth's fleet on his chest. His boots were polished but plain, his shoulders straight but not towering. This was Captain Elias Ward, envoy of humanity. He paused at the doorway, letting his eyes move across the gathered captains. He felt the weight of their gazes. They did not see him as an equal. To them he was an interruption, a child stepping into a room of kings. Yet Elias did not falter. He walked steadily across the hall, the sound of his boots sharp and measured. He bowed his head slightly in greeting, then took the empty seat at the circle. For a moment, silence fell. The mocking begins. It was Zerath who broke the quiet first. He leaned forward, his claws scratching the table. A human? They send a human here? His voice was half growl, half laugh. Do you even have ships worthy of speaking in this hall? Valari tilted her metallic head and gave a soft laugh that rang like chimes. Their ships are small and plain. I have seen them. Metal boxes crawling slowly through space. How amusing that they dare sit among us. Torkan gave a grunt, crossing his thick arms. Children with toys. You build ships like miners build carts. Fragile things, not machines of war. Xerxes' many voices hissed softly like a swarm of insects whispering. Humans break easily. Their fleets break easier still. What could you offer, Captain of Earth? What could you boast? Even Lunari, calm and balanced, raised an eyebrow of crystal light. He did not mock, but his silence carried the same doubt as the others. Elias folded his hands calmly on the table. He did not raise his voice, did not show anger. His tone was even, steady, and clear. We did not come to boast, he said simply. We came to listen, to learn. And perhaps to share. The captains exchanged glances, some amused, others irritated. Zerath snarled. Then share, human. Tell us of your fleets. Tell us of Earth's power if you claim to have any. Valari leaned closer, her wings shimmering. Yes, human. Do not sit in silence. What is your greatest battleship? Does it shine? Does it roar? Does it break worlds like ours? Elias met her gaze without fear. Our ships are not as large as yours, he said. They do not shine with wings nor with crystal. They are not grown like hives, nor carved like mountains, nor shaped like beasts. They are simple, functional. They are built to serve their purpose. Torkan gave a booming laugh, shaking the table. Purpose? What purpose could small ships serve in a galaxy of giants? Elias answered softly. To protect our people. To survive. Laughter and scorn. The captains burst into laughter, each in their own way. Zerath's growl echoed like thunder. Valari's metallic voice rang like bells. Torkan's deep laugh shook the floor. Xerxes' whispers multiplied into a hissing chorus. Even Lunari allowed himself a faint smile, though not unkind. To survive? Zerath spat. That is no purpose for a fleet. A fleet exists to conquer, to destroy, to show power. Survival, Valari echoed, is the thought of prey, not predators. Your kind thinks too small, human. Xerxes' voices hissed again. Prey always speaks of survival. But prey is consumed all the same. Elias did not respond to their laughter. He only sat calmly as though he had expected it. The challenge at last, Valari spread her metallic wings and leaned forward. Show us then. If Earth has ships of survival, bring one. Let us see what your kind calls a battleship. Zerath's eyes gleamed with hunger. Yes, let us compare. We will show you ours, and you will show us yours. Then all will see the truth. Torkan pounded his fist against the table again. I agree. Let the human reveal his toys. Let us end this pretending. Xerxes' whispers coiled through the hall. Yes, let the child reveal its fragile toys. Let us see them break. Even Lunari, who had been silent for long, finally spoke. His voice was calm, but his gaze was sharp. It is fair. Each of us has spoken of our power. If humanity wishes to sit at this table, then it must show its hand as well. All eyes turned to Elias. Elias's answer. The human captain leaned back slightly, folding his arms. He looked around the circle, meeting each gaze without fear. If that is what you ask, he said, then I will accept. We will bring one of our ships. We will not boast of it. We will not promise what it can do. You will see for yourselves. The captains exchanged smiles, smirks, and knowing glances. They believed this would be easy. They imagined a plain vessel, weak compared to theirs, something they could mock openly. To them this was no contest, only a chance to prove their superiority once more. But Elias smiled faintly as well, though only to himself. Uneasy silence. The boasting slowed after that, though not because the captains had grown tired. Something about Elias's calmness unsettled them. He did not act like prey. He did not shrink before their laughter. He did not flare his pride like they did, but neither did he falter. Lunari noticed it first. He studied Elias with crystal eyes that saw beyond the surface. Something about the human's confidence seemed heavier than his words. He did not boast, yet he was not afraid. Valari's laughter grew thinner, less musical, as though she had begun to sense the same thing. Even Zerath's growls grew quieter, though he tried to hide it with scorn. The meeting's end at last, the gathering drew to a close. The captains agreed to meet again soon outside the station. where each would display their ships. Pride was thick in the air, and they left in the same order they had come: Zerath first, Valari second, Torkan third, Xeris fourth, Lunari fifth. Elias remained behind for a moment, standing alone in the great hall. He looked up at the banners of countless worlds, then let out a slow breath. The others thought humanity was weak. That was their mistake. Humanity did not build ships to impress. Humanity built ships to endure, to fight only when needed and to win when it mattered most. And soon the galaxy would see it. The great hall of Concordia Station was quieter the next day. The challenge had been set. The alien captains had agreed that each of them would reveal their greatest warship. Humanity would show theirs last. Captain Elias Ward of Earth remained calm. He did not boast, he did not whisper promises. He simply waited. The other captains were eager, almost too eager. For them, this was not only a meeting. It was a contest. A chance to prove in front of each other and the human envoy that their fleets were unmatched. And so, one by one, the alien ships came forth. The first display, the dreadfang of the war clans, it was Captain Zerath who demanded to begin. His scaled lips curled into a grin, sharp teeth flashing as he rose from his seat. "Let the rest of you see true power," he hissed. "The fire of the war clans cannot be matched." He raised one clawed hand and the screens around the chamber lit up, showing the void outside the station. From the blackness of space, something vast moved into view. The Dreadfang. It was less a ship and more a monster. Its hull was covered with scales of armor, layered and jagged like the hide of a great beast. Cannons lined its sides, glowing faintly with red light, as though the entire vessel burned from within. Spikes jutted outward, sharp enough to tear through other ships by ramming alone. The station shook faintly as the Dreadfang passed, its engines roaring like thunder. Even the void seemed alive with its presence. "Behold," Zerath growled proudly, "the strongest vessel of the clans. With its plasma storms, it has turned whole fleets to dust. With its armor, it has charged through suns. No other ship survives when the Dreadfang takes aim." The Dreadfang fired once, and an asteroid drifting nearby was swallowed in a ball of white fire. The rock melted, cracked, and then vanished in sparks. Zerath's grin widened. "Tell me, who here can match such fury?" The others were silent for a moment, though not out of fear. Their silence was pride, each one waiting for their turn to outdo him. The second display, the Sun-Piercer of the Winged Empire. Captain Valari rose next, her metallic wings spreading slightly as if to shine brighter than Zerath's shadows. Her voice rang clear like silver bells. "Power is not only fury," she said. "True mastery is elegance, precision, and speed. Behold the Sun-Piercer." From the darkness of space, another ship emerged. It moved differently from the Dreadfang. Where Zerath's ship lumbered like a beast, Valari's vessel glided like a bird in flight. Its wings, vast metallic sails, unfurled as it approached, glowing faintly as they caught the light of the nearby star. The Sun-Piercer looked less like a weapon and more like a piece of art. Its surface shone, smooth and curved, every angle reflecting light like polished glass. Its sails spread wide, catching streams of solar energy. "While others waste fuel, we drink from stars," Valari said proudly. "Our ships fly faster than thought, moving on wings of fire. And when we strike, the Sun-Piercer's wings focus their glow, bending light into a single point. A beam of pure energy burst forth, striking a nearby moon fragment. The rock cracked apart in silence, splitting cleanly into two. We do not roar like beasts. We cut clean, precise, perfect. The shards of the moon drifted apart, glowing faintly from the heat of the cut. Valari folded her wings with grace, smiling toward the others. Zerath only growled, but he did not argue. The third display, the Hammer of Stars Captain Torkan, was next. He stood heavily, his thick arms folded across his chest. His rough voice rumbled through the hall like grinding stone. "You speak of fury and of beauty," he said, "but war is work. War is labor. And nothing is stronger than the work of my people. Behold the hammer." The station's screens shifted again, showing a shape that blocked out the stars. Where the Sun-Piercer glided and the Dreadfang burned, the hammer was simply immense. It was a mountain in space, built from the body of an asteroid itself. Its hull was rough, thick and scarred, but every inch was solid. Weapons and drills jutted from its sides, more tools than ornaments. The Hammer of Stars moved slowly, each engine pulsed like a heartbeat shaking the void. It had no elegance, no glitter. It was pure mass and power. Others waste time with wings and crystal, Torkan rumbled. But the hammer does not need beauty. It crushes all in its path. To prove it, the hammer locked onto a drifting field of stone, its massive arms stretched forward like claws reaching. With a slow, dreadful motion, the arms closed around an asteroid the size of a city. Then with one great pulse of its engines, the hammer squeezed. The asteroid cracked. Then it crumbled. Then it shattered into dust, squeezed by sheer force until nothing remained. Torkan nodded firmly, his thick jaw set. That is strength. That is victory. The fourth display. The broodmother of the swarm, when it was Captain Xerxes' turn, the hall grew uneasy. His many eyes glowed faintly, and his long limbs shifted as he rose. His voice came in echoes like whispers from many throats at once. Strength, elegance, crushing stone, all meaningless without numbers. A single weapon dies, but a swarm never ends. Outside, the void rippled. At first, nothing seemed to move. Then from the shadows a shape appeared, vast and unsettling. The broodmother. Unlike the other ships, it did not look like a machine at all. Its surface was dark and wet, pulsing faintly as though alive. Its hull was covered in strange growths, each one glowing with sickly light. And from its sides, like seeds from a tree, small shapes poured forth. Drones. Thousands of them. They swarmed outward in clouds, moving like insects in perfect order. They twisted, turned, and wove around one another. Some were tiny, darting quickly. Others were larger, with heavy claws and glowing cannons. Where one drone dies, Xerxes hissed, 10 more rise. The broodmother births without end. We do not fight battles, we consume them. The swarm spread toward a cluster of asteroids. Within minutes, the drones had covered them. Tiny explosions flashed across the rocks as the swarm drilled, tore, and consumed. By the time they pulled back, nothing remained but dust and silence. The hall shivered in quiet unease. Even Xerath looked unsettled by the endless wave. The fifth display. The Prism Lord of the Crystal Fleet at last, Lunari rose. He did not spread his arms or hiss or pound his fists. He moved gracefully, as though weight itself did not touch him. His translucent body glimmered faintly in the lights of the hall. My kind does not roar, Lunari said softly. We do not crush. We do not swarm. We bend, we reflect, we endure. And through that we triumph. Behold the Prism Lord. From hyperspace the final ship appeared. The Prism Lord gleamed like a jewel in the void. Its surface was made of crystal, vast panels that caught the starlight and split it into rainbows. The ship glowed as if it carried a star within, light scattering in patterns too beautiful to be natural. But beauty was not its only strength. Others waste energy in fire and stone, Lunari said. We turn energy itself into our weapon. The Prism Lord shimmered, its crystals shifting. A beam of plasma from a distant testing drone fired at it, but the beam bent. It struck the Prism Lord's crystal panels, and instead of burning through, it scattered. The beam split into countless rays, redirected outward into the void. Then the Prism Lord fired its own beam. Not a simple line, but a storm of light split into dozens of smaller strikes. The rays danced across an asteroid cluster, slicing it into fragments with dazzling precision. The hall filled with colors as the demonstration ended, pride and expectation. When the last beam faded, silence hung in the hall. Not because the captains were humbled, but because each was certain they had shown greatness. Xerath leaned back, his claws clicking against the table. Let the human show his toy now. After such power, what can you bring? Valari smiled with silver confidence. Yes, Captain Ward, let us see Earth's pride. Surely you have something, though I doubt it will match. Torkan crossed his thick arms, grunting. This will be amusing. A child's cart among mountains. Xerxes' voices whispered together, weaving laughter into unease. Show us, human. Show us how quickly your kind breaks. Even Lunari, calm as always, turned his crystal gaze toward Elias. It is your turn. Elias remained silent, Captain. Elias Ward did not rush. He folded his hands, calm as ever. He had watched every display without a word, his expression steady, his eyes sharp. Now all eyes were on him, and still he smiled faintly. We will show you, he said at last, but not yet. You have seen your ships. You have shown your power. Tomorrow, we will reveal ours. The captains grumbled, hissed, laughed, or frowned, but they agreed. The humans' calmness only sharpened their curiosity, and so they left the hall once more. Elias remained alone again in the silence. He looked out the great windows, where the last shimmer of Lunari's prism lord faded into the dark. He took a slow breath. The others believed humanity weak. They would soon learn otherwise. The station known as Concordia was quiet the following day. Outside, in the endless black of space, the alien ships waited. They had each shown their might, the roaring Dreadfang, the shining Sunpiercer, the immense hammer of stars, the endless Broodmother, and the radiant Prism Lord. Now it was the turn of Earth. Inside the hall, the alien captains sat again at the round table. Their eyes were full of pride and curiosity, but also mockery. They had displayed their fleets like kings showing crowns. They expected little from the humans. At the far end of the circle sat Captain Elias Ward, the envoy of Earth. He was calm as always. His hands rested on the table, his eyes steady. He felt the weight of 5 alien gazes pressing upon him, but he did not flinch. The pressure of Pride Xerath of the War Clans leaned forward first, his reptilian scales shimmering faintly in the hall's lights. His voice was a low growl. "You have seen our power. Now it is your turn, human. Bring out your ship. Or are you afraid?" Valari of the Winged Empire tilted her metallic wings and gave a soft laugh. "Yes, Captain Ward, do not delay. Surely you have something. Or perhaps your kind entered this hall with only words, not ships." Torkin of the iron-skinned miners slammed a fist down on the table, making it shudder. "Enough talk. Show us your vessel. Let us finish this game." Xerus of the hive-born swarm hissed with a chorus of voices, a sound like many whispers in the dark. "Yes, reveal your toy, human. Let us see how small it is before the swarm." Even Lunari of the Crystal Fleet, calm as ever, raised an eyebrow of faint light. "The moment has come, Captain. We are ready to see." Elias's calm reply. Elias rose from his seat slowly. He did not raise his voice. He did not move with drama. He simply stood, his hands behind his back, and looked around the circle. "You have shown your ships with pride," he said. "Each of them carries great power. We respect that. Humanity does not deny your strength." The captains exchanged glances, surprised by his words. They expected him to boast, to argue, but Elias continued. "Our ships are different. They are not built to look beautiful. They are not built to roar. They are not built to shine. They are built for survival, built for war when war cannot be avoided. We do not build them to impress. We build them to endure." Xerath hissed impatiently. "Enough of your soft words. Show it." Elias nodded once. Then he raised his hand. The arrival of the Resolute. The screens around the chamber lit up. Outside, in the black void beyond Concordia Station, space shimmered. A ripple spread like water disturbed by a stone. Then, from hyperspace, a vessel appeared. The UNS Resolute. At first sight, it seemed plain. It did not glow like the Prism Lord. It did not unfold wings like the Sunpiercer. It did not swarm like the Broodmother, nor carry drills like the Hammer, nor bristle with spikes like the Dreadfang. It was a long, dark vessel, sharp-edged, built with clean lines and solid plating. Its color was simple gray, broken only by markings of Earth's fleet. It carried no ornaments, no unnecessary shine. The alien captain smirked. Valari tilted her head, her wings rattling faintly with amusement. "This is it? A gray box?" Torkan gave a deep laugh. "I have seen mining barges with more pride than this." Xerus hissed in many voices. "Plain, weak, forgettable." Even Xerath's growl turned into a mocking chuckle. "Is this what humans call a battleship? It looks like prey already waiting to be eaten." But Elias only watched silently. His eyes did not waver. The demonstration begins without a word from Elias. The Resolute moved. Its engines glowed softly, but there was no roar, no thunder. The ship glided into position near a drifting field of stone. Then it fired. A railgun shot streaked across space faster than the eye could follow. It struck a mountain-sized asteroid and tore straight through it. The asteroid split apart in silence, fragments scattering into the void. The hole left behind was smooth, clean, and perfect. The captain's laughter faded. Elias's voice came softly over the hall's speakers. "Every shot counts. No wasted energy, no wasted motion." The Resolute vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. The alien captain sat up in surprise, their scanners searching, their eyes widening. "It cannot be gone," Valari said sharply. "It cloaked," Xerath growled. "But even cloaks leave shadows." Yet the Resolute was invisible. Their sensors found nothing. Not a shadow, not a signal, not a sound. Then, without warning, it reappeared, this time directly behind the Dreadfang. Shock and Oxerath leapt to his feet, his scales flashing. How? Before he could finish, the Resolute fired again. Another railgun shot streaked across space, but this time it did not strike a rock. It passed near the Dreadfang's armored side. The WarClan captain froze as his screen showed the result. A hole had been punched clean through one of his outer armor plates. No explosion, no fire. Just a single, perfect wound. This is impossible, Xerath growled. The Resolute moved again, flickering across space as though it were skipping ahead of time. One moment it was near the Dreadfang. The next it was beside the Sunpiercer. Valari's wings glowed as her ship prepared to evade, but before she could act, the Resolute fired. A shot lanced past the Sunpiercer's sails, cutting so close that one wing's edge shattered into fragments. Valari gasped softly. Her sails were supposed to bend light itself. Yet this plain gray ship had torn through them like paper. The Resolute's power. The alien captains leaned forward now, no longer laughing. Their eyes were sharp, their pride shaken. The Resolute revealed more. It fired drones of its own. Not swarms of countless small creatures, but a handful of sleek machines. Each one moved with perfect coordination, striking targets with precision. Where the swarm of the Broodmother relied on numbers, the human drones relied on accuracy. And they hit every time. It activated its shields, but they were not glowing barriers of light. They were invisible, efficient. An asteroid hurled toward it shattered to dust before it even touched the hull, dissolved by an unseen wall. And then its engines flared. With a sudden burst, the Resolute repositioned itself so quickly that even the Prism Lord's sensors struggled to follow. It was as if the ship had skipped across the void in a blink. Reactions of the five. The hall was silent except for the hum of the screens. Xerath's claws dug into the table, his teeth bared. This is not possible. Your ship is too small. Too plain. It should not be able to do this. Valari's metallic wings folded tightly. Her proud voice was sharp now, uncertain. How can a vessel with no beauty strike so perfectly? How can it move so fast? Torkon's jaw clenched, his thick arms gripping the edge of the table. No ship that size should hold such power. How do you fit this strength inside such little steel? Xerxes' voices whispered in a broken chorus, no longer smooth but confused. The swarm cannot touch it. It slips away. It kills without being seen. Lunari alone remained calm, but his crystal eyes shone with new light. He nodded slowly, almost in respect. I see now. Your ships are not built for pride. They are built for survival. Every piece of this vessel has one purpose only: to win. Elias explains. Elias's voice returned, steady and calm. We do not build ships to impress others. We do not decorate them. We do not waste what we cannot afford to waste. Humanity is young. We do not have endless resources. We do not have ancient empires behind us. What we have is necessity. And necessity teaches us to build only what is needed. He paused, letting the silence weigh on the captains. Our ships are not large. They are not beautiful. They are not eternal. But every bolt, every weapon, every engine is there for a reason. To fight when we must. To survive when we must. And when survival demands victory, we win. The hall remained silent. None of the captains spoke. A shift in the hall. For the first time since the gathering began, pride faltered. Xerath did not laugh. Valari did not shine. Torkon did not roar. Xerxes did not whisper. The five captains, once so proud, now sat in silence, watching the gray ship that floated calmly outside. It did not glow. It did not roar. It did not boast. And yet, it had done what none of their fleets could ignore. The human ship, the plain Resolute, had shown them that true power did not need to be seen. It only needed to be real. Elias sat down again, folding his hands. He spoke softly, but his words filled the hall. We did not come here to boast. We came to endure, and now you know why we endure. The grand hall of Concordia Station was quiet. The alien captains stared at the screens in disbelief, their pride shattered not by violence, but by a single human vessel, the UNS Resolute. For hours they had watched it glide through space, strike with precision, vanish and reappear, and withstand trials that none of their greatest ships could avoid. The hall, once filled with laughter, boasting, and challenges, now carried only a weighty silence. Captain Elias Ward remained calm, sitting at the round table as if nothing had happened. But inside him he understood the moment. This was the moment humans would finally be taken seriously. The aftermath of the demonstration, Xerath of the War Clan sat first in stunned silence. His claws rested on the table, shaking slightly. He had led his fleets across the galaxy, burned whole moons, and claimed countless victories. Yet here was a human ship, smaller, simpler, and yet somehow unmatched in effectiveness. It should not be possible, he growled. His voice was low, almost unsteady. No vessel that small should withstand our fire, much less strike with such accuracy. Valari of the Winged Empire folded her metallic wings tightly, her face pale in comparison to her usual prideful shimmer. Beauty is wasted on ships that do not perform, she admitted quietly. This human vessel performs beyond anything I imagined. Torkan of the iron-skinned miners, who had prided himself on brute strength and the crushing power of the hammer, could find no words. His heavy fists rested on the table, motionless. He had believed in sheer size, in force and mass, yet the small gray vessel had shown him a different truth. Strength could be precise, efficient and invisible. Even Xerus of the hive-born swarm, whose mind had always relied on numbers and endless drones, felt unease. Their endless waves of attackers had been unable to touch the Resolute. It had moved between them like a ghost. How? He whispered through many voices. Can a single human vessel defy the swarm? Only Lunari of the Crystal Fleet remained calm, but his crystal eyes reflected admiration. Perhaps it is not power alone that matters, he said softly. Perhaps purpose carries its own strength, a moment of reflection. The 5 captains sat back, each lost in thought. Pride had been their constant companion, their guide in every battle. They had believed their fleets unrivaled. They had believed their boasting was enough, and yet, here was a human race young among the stars, without centuries of empire, without enormous ships or endless resources, showing them a truth they could not ignore. Elias spoke again, his voice gentle but carrying over the hall's speakers. You have seen our ship. You have seen what we build. Humanity does not create for vanity. We do not build for spectacle. We build for survival, for endurance, for victory when it is needed. That is why our ships are effective. Xerath finally looked up, his sharp eyes meeting Elias's steady gaze. You speak with confidence, he said. But you are young. You have not fought in the fires of 100 wars. You do not understand what we have endured. Elias nodded slowly. No, we are young. But young does not mean weak. Necessity has taught us to fight efficiently, to endure, and to win when it matters most. The shift in the hall, the room remained silent for a long moment. Then Valari spoke, her wings shifting faintly. Your ship. It is not like ours. It does not dazzle, it does not roar. And yet, it has demonstrated a power that even we cannot ignore. That is remarkable, Torkan grunted, finally breaking his silence. You have built a weapon that defies reason, he admitted. I cannot find fault. It strikes clean, it moves fast, it survives. He stopped, unsure how to finish. Even he could not dismiss what he had seen. Xerus's many voices whispered softly, hesitant, almost in awe. The swarm could not touch it. It moves like a shadow, strikes like fire. It is something different. Even Xerath, who had once bellowed and hissed, leaned back, his tail flicking slowly. Perhaps we underestimated your kind, he said. Lunari spoke last, his calm voice cutting through the tension. Humanity is young, yet it is not foolish. It does not waste. It does not pride itself in show. And yet it has built something effective beyond imagination. That is wisdom. The silence that followed was not uncomfortable but heavy with respect. 5 alien captains, each proud and powerful, sat humbled before a single human envoy. A lesson in humanity. Elias's voice broke the silence. You see, we did not build our fleet to impress you. We did not build it to compete in pride. We built it to endure. To protect our people. That is why humanity thrives. That is why our ships succeed. He paused, letting the words settle. You may have vast fleets, ancient technology, and centuries of experience. But we have something you cannot measure. We have necessity. We have ingenuity, and we have the will to survive against all odds. Valari nodded slowly, her wings folding. You speak truthfully. I see now that your kind should not be underestimated. Xerath growled softly, a sound less aggressive than before. Perhaps we have judged too quickly. There is strength in your people that we did not expect. Torkhan gave a slow, heavy nod. Strength? Yes. Not brute force, not numbers, not beauty, but something else. Efficiency, precision, cunning. I respect that. Xerxes' voices whispered together in a low chorus. Humanity is dangerous, and yet there is sense in your power that we cannot deny. Even Lunari's calm crystal gaze shone brighter than before. You have shown us something important. Power is not only in size or numbers or spectacle. Purpose carries its own weight. We will remember this. Recognition. For the first time, the alien captains looked not as rivals but as equals. They did not speak of pride, boasting, or battles. Instead, they spoke quietly to each other, acknowledging a truth they had long ignored. Humanity, though young, was formidable. Elias remained seated, quiet, his expression calm. He did not need to boast. He did not need to glare or threaten. The human ship had already spoken. Outside, the Resolute floated silently in space. Its gray hull seemed ordinary, almost plain, but the 5 alien captains knew better now. That vessel carried more than weapons. It carried human ingenuity, human will, and human survival, and that made it and its people a force no one could ignore. The departure at last, the meeting drew to a close. The 5 captains rose one by one, no longer full of laughter or boasting. They offered polite nods to Elias, small gestures of respect they had not previously given to any human. Xerath spoke first. Captain Ward, you have shown us that humanity is not to be underestimated. That is a lesson I will not forget. Valari nodded. Your people are young but capable. That is remarkable. Torkhan grunted, a rare sign of approval. I respect strength. Your fleet has it in ways we could not imagine. Xerxes whispered in many voices. The swarm will take note. And so will I. Lunari spoke last. Humanity has taught us that power is not always what it seems. I respect your people. They left the hall silently, each captain deep in thought. Reflection. Elias watched them depart. The hall was quiet once more, empty except for him. The screens outside still displayed the calm black of space, scattered with distant stars. He felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity had not only shown its fleet, it had shown its heart, its ingenuity, and its will. In the galaxy, there would be those who mocked humanity, as the captains had once done. There would be those who underestimated them. But now the first of the great powers had seen the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were not naive. Humans survived. And when survival demanded victory, they won. The young captain leaned back and allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had seen the UNS Resolute, and through it, it had seen humanity itself. It was a beginning. Not a boast, not a challenge, but the quiet strength of a people who refused to be dismissed, and that was enough.